In 2009, deep beneath your feet, a solid ball of iron, roughly the size of Pluto, just, well, hit the brakes.
Which is, insane to even conceptualize.
Right. We are talking about the Earth's inner core here. It's this thing suspended in a massive ocean of liquid metal thousands of miles below the surface.
And for as long as modern science has actually been able to measure it, that core was spinning.
Exactly. But then, right around 2009, the data showed it stopped. It paused.
Yeah, and shortly after that, it actually began a backward drift.
It started reversing relative to the surface of the Earth. I mean, scientists at Peking University and the University of Southern California who published this data were completely baffled.
Oh, absolutely. They could see the brakes had been applied, but they had, absolutely no idea where the torque was coming from.
Right.
To put that into perspective for you, the amount of physical energy required to stop a celestial mass of that size and then reverse its momentum, it's almost mathematically incomprehensible.
It totally breaks the rules.
It completely defies the standard geological models we've relied on for a century.
But what if the explanation for this massive planetary anomaly wasn't found in, like, a new satellite or a supercomputer simulation? What if the blueprint for why our planet just shifted gears was actually hidden in a 10,000-year-old ancient Hindu cosmology?
That's the big question.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are taking on a mission that is going to completely warp how you think about time, space, and literally the ground you're standing on.
Yeah, buckle up for this one.
We are unpacking an incredibly dense set of source documents today. And it attempts a synthesis I have, frankly, never seen before.
It's definitely unique.
It really is. We're looking at material that takes the ancient mechanics of the Divya Yuga chakra, the divine age cycle, and overlays it, point for point, onto cutting-edge 21st century geophysics and climatology.
Now, before we go any further, I do want to establish the philosophical ground rules for this conversation.
Yeah, that's important.
Our goal today is not to declare that modern science has suddenly validated every metaphysical claim of ancient spiritual texts. We aren't here to prove that ancient sages had, the equivalent of European Space Agency satellites.
Right, or to debunk the texts using seismic data either.
Exactly. We are looking at this strictly through the lens of comparative frameworks. Our mission is to explore the staggering, highly specific parallels that this source material draws.
It's basically a thought exercise.
Yes. Seeing how ancient philosophical models of cyclical time might actually mirror modern, hard data scientific discoveries about the Earth's chaotic history.
We're looking at the overlap. We're looking at the shadows on the wall, so to speak. And the core mystery we are exploring, a question that's going to drive this entire deep dive, is this. What if the sudden catastrophic climate shifts of our planet's past and the bizarre, newly discovered behaviors of the Earth's inner core are actually driven by an invisible cosmic gear system?
A massive mechanical transmission.
Right. What if the Earth isn't just floating randomly in a void, but is mechanically locked into a massive intergalactic transmission?
It is a massive what if.
Oh, huge.
To even begin to conceptualize how the Earth's core might be behaving like a physical gear in a cosmic engine, we first have to fundamentally rewire our understanding of time itself.
Which is no small task.
Not at all. We have to understand the timeline the source proposes, which means leaving the Western concept of linear time completely behind.
Okay, let's unpack this for the listener. Because usually, you and I picture time as this perfectly straight, smooth line, like an arrow flying forward.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at a clock and the second hand ticks forward. It's clean, it's predictable, it never loops back on itself.
And that linear framework is how we build our entire modern understanding of history, biology, astronomy, all of it. We just assume a beginning, a middle, and an eventual end.
But the source material asks us to conceptualize time as a circle.
Yes, and not just a simple circle, but a highly intricate, grinding set of orbital mechanics. And it's based entirely on our solar system's movement relative to a deep space anchor called the Shishumar chakra.
Okay, the Shishumar chakra. The text describes this as a cosmic center, like a realm containing 27 nakshatras, or constellations, associated with divine realms.
Right.
But when I was reading this, I kept trying to ground it. Like, what does this mean astronomically? Is the text implying we are orbiting a massive black hole, like the center of the Milky Way?
Well, the source doesn't explicitly equate the Shishumar chakra to a specific modern astronomical body like Sagittarius A star, the black hole at our galactic center, though the conceptual parallel is certainly there.
It's tempting to make that leap.
It is, but in this cosmology, Shishumar is a structural anchor point in the universe. Our solar system isn't just drifting aimlessly along the Orion arm of the galaxy. It is tethered to this anchor,
Like it's on a leash.
basically, orbiting in relation to it over vast expanses of time. And the critical variable in this framework is distance. The physical distance between our solar system and this Shishumar chakra dictates the age, or the Yuga, that humanity is actually experiencing.
Okay, let's look at the math here because the Yuga cycle breakdown in the text is incredibly specific. The source states that when our solar system reaches its closest point to the Shishumar chakra, we enter Satyuga.
The golden age.
Right, this is considered a golden age. It's characterized by spiritual and physical stability, and it lasts for exactly 4,800 years. During this time, the solar system is moving relatively slowly, tracing a wide, gentle curve in its orbit.
Notice the relationship there between proximity, speed, and environmental stability.
Yeah, being close makes things calm.
Exactly. Being close to the energetic center results in a slower, more deliberate orbital movement. It's a period of equilibrium. But, orbits are not static.
Right, we don't stay there.
No. As the solar system continues along its path, it inevitably begins to move further away from the Shishumar chakra, and the age transitions.
So we leave Satyuga and drop into Tretayuga, which lasts 3,600 years. We're getting further out into the dark.
Yes, moving outward.
Then, as we continue pushing outward, we cross into Dwaparayuga, which lasts 2,400 years. The orbital path is getting tighter, and the solar system is speeding up.
Ultimately culminating at the furthest possible point from the Shishumar chakra, the apex of the orbit.
And this is kaliyuga.
Yes, it is the shortest age, lasting only 1,200 years. Because the solar system is at the extreme outer edge of its orbital ellipse, the text describes it as moving incredibly fast. It's whipping around a very tight curve to begin the journey back.
Right, like a comet hitting the edge of its path. And if you add those up, 4,800 plus 3,600 plus 2,400 plus 1,200, you get exactly 12,000 years.
Spot on.
That 12,000-year period represents one half cycle. It's the one-way journey from the closest point to the farthest point. The text calls this a Divya Yuga.
And to complete the entire macro orbit, to go from the closest point all the way out into the deep void and all the way back again, takes 24,000 years.
So that 24,000-year loop is the complete Divya Yuga chakra.
Exactly. And the source offers a very specific visual for this orbit. It doesn't describe a perfect circle. It describes the orbital path as being shaped like a lotus petal.
A lotus petal.
Yes. Slow and wide at the top during Satyuga, fast and sharply curved at the bottom during Kaliyuga.
I have to admit, when I was trying to map this out in my head, my brain honestly started to hurt a little.
It's a lot of spatial reasoning.
It is. Think about the sheer number of moving parts. You, the listener, are standing on a planet that is spinning on its axis at 1,000 miles an hour.
Right.
That planet is orbiting a sun. That sun is spiraling through a galaxy. And now, this text is saying that entire solar system is tracing a 24,000-year lotus petal orbit around a distant cluster of constellations.
It's overwhelming.
How do all these different cycles interact without colliding into a chaotic mess? Like, how does a 12-hour day relate to a 24,000-year epoch without the math breaking down?
Well, the authors of these source materials actually anticipated that exact cognitive dissonance.
They knew we'd be confused.
Oh, definitely. So, to explain how massive, multi-thousand-year macrocycles lock seamlessly into much shorter microcycles, the text utilizes a brilliant ancient engineering analogy, the Rahat Pranali.
The Persian water wheel.
Yes, the Rahat Pranali is a traditional, highly efficient mechanical system used for millennia to draw water from deep wells. The text uses the architecture of this machine to literally map the architecture of time.
Okay, walk me through it.
It asks the reader to imagine a massive horizontal gear resting flat on the ground. Think of this horizontal gear as representing millions of years of deep time. In a traditional well setup, a draft animal, like an ox, walks in a slow, continuous circle, turning this horizontal gear.
So the ox is the baseline.
Exactly. We can view that ox as the baseline mechanism of celestial motion, defining these massive, almost unfathomable epochs.
Got it. I'm picturing this giant, heavy wooden gear on the ground, just slowly turning, grinding away, century after century.
Good. Now look at the teeth of that horizontal gear. They are interlocking directly with a vertical gear. As the massive flat gear turns slowly, it forces the vertical gear to spin much faster.
Okay, gear ratios.
Right. And the source explicitly links this vertical gear to the solar cycle, specifically the 11 to 14-year cycle where our sun's magnetic poles flip.
And this is where the text makes a fascinating cultural and mythological connection.
It really is.
It links this 11 to 14-year solar cycle, this specific vertical gear, directly to the great Indian epics. It points to the 14-year exile of Lord Rama in the Ramayana and the 12-year exile, plus the 1 extra year of living incognito of the Pandavas in the Mahabharata.
The math lines up perfectly.
It does. It's framing these mythological timelines not just as stories, but as narratives hard-coded to the rhythm of this specific cosmic solar gear.
It's a remarkable synthesis of cultural narrative and astronomical observation. The epics are essentially acting as mnemonic devices for orbital mechanics.
That's a great way to put it.
So we have the slow horizontal gear turning the faster solar cycle vertical gear. But a water wheel doesn't stop there. That first vertical gear is connected by a solid horizontal steel shaft to a much larger vertical gear suspended over the well.
Right, the main wheel.
Exactly. Draped over this massive vertical wheel is a continuous belt or chain, and attached to that belt are a series of water buckets.
The buckets that actually get the water.
Yes. As the large gear turns, it drives the buckets down into the dark water of the well and then pulls them back up into the light. The text states that this massive bucket-driving gear represents the 24,000-year Divya Yuga cycle.
Wow. If you are listening right now, try to visualize this intricate clockwork. It's breathtaking.
It really is an elegant model.
You have this massive machine where the micro movements, like the 11-year solar cycles, are mechanically inextricably locked to the macro movements, the 24,000-year epochs. You can't turn one without turning the other.
They are completely dependent on each other.
So our solar system moving up toward the Sushumna chakra during Satyuga and diving down away from it during Kaliyuga is exactly like those individual buckets riding the belt down into the well and back up, all driven by the interlocking gears of time.
The core philosophical takeaway from the Rahat Pranali analogy is that the universe is not just a collection of random floating rocks subject to chaotic chance. It is a highly engineered, deterministic machine. Every gear relies on the friction and movement of the other.
But, here's the problem with machines.
What's that?
A gear system doesn't turn itself. An engine needs fuel. A water wheel needs an ox. A transmission needs a drive shaft.
Right, the motive force.
And that brings us to the next, arguably most bizarre piece of the puzzle. We have the clockwork structure of time, this 24,000-year lotus petal orbit. But what is the actual energy physically turning these planetary gears?
To answer that, the source introduces an astonishing astrophysical concept hidden right inside ancient terminology. We need to talk about prana.
Hold on. You say prana, and I immediately think of, like, a yoga studio.
Most people do.
Right. In most Eastern philosophies, prana is understood as breath. It's a vital life force, an internal spiritual energy. It's meditative. How does life force equal planetary torque? That sounds like a massive leap into pure mysticism.
Well, it is a massive leap if you define prana strictly as biological breath. But in the context of this specific source document, prana is described not as a localized spiritual feeling, but as a sweeping astrophysical reality.
Okay, expand on that.
The text uses the word pana to describe a massive galactic flow of structural energy. Think of it less like human breath and more like an ancient vocabulary for interstellar magnetic fields or cosmic background radiation.
Or like dark matter currents.
Exactly, localized currents of dark matter. It is described as a literal physical river of energy flowing through the vacuum of space that acts as both a tether keeping celestial bodies in their orbits and a driving current moving them forward.
Like a cosmic ocean current. You get caught in it, and it pulls your solar system along.
Precisely.
And the source makes a very distinct binary out of this. It splits this galactic prana into two distinct opposing forces, Shivalinga and Shivalinga.
Yes. The text outlines these two massive energy streams as the fundamental dualities driving the cosmic machine. The first stream is Shivalinga, which represents the male or Purush principle.
And where does that flow from?
This specific prana flow originates from the lower realms of the cosmos. It flows upward, moving through the cosmic structure, entering our solar system via the sun and a realm defined as Swarga, or heaven. Crucially, the text says this upward Shivalinga energy is directed specifically and physically toward the Earth's land masses.
Got it. And the text ties this upward flow to what it calls Uttarayana. It is the upward movement of the solar system along that 24,000-year lotus petal orbit.
Yes.
Culturally, the cosmology notes this period as the 6 months in divine time when the deity Vishnu wakes up. It's a period characterized by upward driving active energy.
Opposing that, you have the second stream, Shivalingi. This represents the female or Prakriti principle.
So this is the downward force.
Correct. This prana flows from the exact opposite direction. It originates from the upper realms, specifically from the Shishumar chakra we discussed earlier. It flows downward, entering our planetary system through the moon and a transitional realm called Bhuvaloka. And unlike the Shivalinga, which anchors to the land, this downward Shivalingi flow is directed specifically toward the Earth's waters and oceans.
And this downward flow governs Dakshinayana, the downward swing of the solar system's orbit, which corresponds to the time when Vishnu sleeps.
Yes, exactly.
So to visualize this for a second, you have a massive current of energy flowing up from the bottom, hitting the continents, and a massive opposing current flowing down from the top, hitting the oceans. Two rivers of cosmic force flowing in opposite directions.
But how does a planet actually process being caught between two opposing rivers of energy?
Right, that's the big question.
This is where the source material drops the mysticism completely and utilizes a staggeringly specific modern engineering analogy to explain the interaction.
Yes, when I read this part of the source material, I honestly had to read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding it.
It's incredibly technical.
It is. The text uses a mechanical concept you'd find in the transmission of a heavy-duty truck, or like a reversible power drill. It uses the bevel gear reversing mechanism to explain how these two prana flows interact with the Earth.
I will outline the text's mechanical proposition, but I want you to break down the actual physics of how this gear works for the listener because it is the absolute linchpin of this entire theory.
I can do that.
The text proposes that the Earth sits in the center of a cosmic transmission.
Okay, I'm trying to picture this like a diagram in a shop manual. So imagine you have a main motor spinning a primary drive shaft.
Okay, got it.
Attached to the end of that shaft is a gear, the driving gear. It is always spinning in one continuous direction, let's say clockwise. Now imagine the primary driving gear is sandwiched between two other gears called driven gears.
And these are facing each other.
Exactly. These two driven gears are facing each other, and they are both interlocking with the teeth of the main driving gear at the exact same time.
And the geometry here is the crucial part. Because these two driven gears are facing each other, and they are both biting into the same spinning driving gear, physics dictates that they must rotate in opposite directions.
Right. If the left gear is forced to spin clockwise, the right gear is forced to spin counterclockwise. They are inherently opposed, continuously spinning in conflict.
Okay, so where does the Earth come in?
Right, so running straight through the open center of those two opposing gears is an output shaft. That's the actual axle you want to turn to make the wheels of your car move. But the two opposing gears aren't permanently welded to this shaft.
You're loose.
Yes, between the two gears sliding horizontally back and forth on the shaft is a heavy piece of locking metal called a dog clutch.
The dog clutch is essentially the decision maker of the entire machine. It dictates the reality of the output shaft.
Exactly. When you pull lever, that clutch slides along the shaft and its teeth lock into the first gear. Because that first gear is spinning clockwise, the entire output shaft suddenly violently engages and starts spinning clockwise.
Then, if you move the lever back to the middle position, the clutch slides out and disconnects from the gear.
It's in neutral.
Right. The two outer gears keep spinning endlessly, but the output shaft is suddenly free-floating. It stops receiving power.
And here is the magic trick of the bevel gear reversing mechanism. When you pull the lever all the way to the other side, the clutch slides across the neutral zone and locks into the second gear.
And the second gear is spinning the opposite way.
Exactly. But remember, that second gear has been spinning in the exact opposite direction the entire time. So the output shaft is violently forced to arrest whatever forward momentum it had, absorb the shock, and instantly reverse into counterclockwise motion.
Wow.
Without ever having to stop the main motor, you've completely reversed the rotation of the output shaft.
It is a brutal, violent, incredibly effective piece of engineering, and this is where the ancient text makes a breathtaking conceptual leap. It maps this industrial mechanism directly onto the planet Earth.
It claims the Earth's inner core is the output shaft.
Yes, the solid iron core at the center of our planet is that central axle. And the two opposing prana flows the upward-flowing Shivalinga and the downward-flowing Shivalingi are the two opposing driven gears, forever spinning in opposite directions in the vacuum of space.
Which means, as the solar system travels up and down along its massive 24,000-year lotus petal orbit, traversing through these different cosmic zones, moving from the downward Bhuvaloka realm up toward the Swargaloka realm and back again, the Earth is physically moving through space.
And as the Earth moves through these spatial zones, it is effectively moving the cosmic lever.
The dog clutch is sliding.
Exactly. The Earth's core physically shifts out of the magnetic grip of one prana flow. It disengages from the first spinning gear. It enters a neutral zone where it loses its rotational torque, begins to slow down, and then, as the orbit continues, it slams into the grip of the opposing prana flow. The clutch locks into the opposite gear.
Hold on. Let's really look at what this is claiming. This ancient cosmological framework is stating, as a matter of mechanical fact, that the very center of our planet must periodically slow down, come to a complete stop, and physically reverse its rotation based on where we are in a 24,000-year galactic orbit.
That is precisely what the text demands.
Here is where the deep dive goes from theoretical philosophy to hard, modern reality.
The science.
Right. If the Earth's core is truly shifting gears like a giant cosmic transmission, we shouldn't just have to take an ancient text's word for it. We should be able to look down into the Earth and measure it.
And according to the source material, modern space agencies and geophysicists have just stumbled headfirst into the very cosmic clutch we just described.
We are moving now from ancient manuscripts to contemporary peer-reviewed science. The source document points directly to a bombshell study published in the journal Nature Geoscience in 2023.
Yes, this was a highly complex joint analysis using decades of data from Peking University and the University of Southern California.
I remember when this came out. This wasn't some fringe theory on a blog. This made global headlines.
Yeah.
The New York Times, Scientific American, everyone was covering this. But, I mean, how do scientists actually know what a ball of iron 3,000 miles underground is doing? You can't drill a hole and drop a camera down there.
They use seismology. When a massive earthquake happens, say in Alaska, it generates shock waves that ripple entirely through the planet. Scientists can detect those exact same shock waves on seismometers in Antarctica.
Okay, so reading the echoes.
Right. By measuring the minute differences in how long it takes for different types of waves, compressional P waves and shear S waves to travel through the center of the Earth, scientists can essentially create an ultrasound of the planet's interior.
Oh, wow.
And for decades, the standard scientific model assumed that the Earth's solid inner core rotated slightly faster than the rest of the planet's mantle and crust in a consistent, predictable way known as superrotation.
But the 2023 study analyzed historical seismic data going back to the 1990s, specifically looking at repeating earthquakes, multiplets that send waves through the exact same path in the core over time. And what they saw completely broke the standard geological model.
The seismic data definitively proved that the Earth's solid inner core is not rotating consistently at all. The data showed that leading up to the year 2009, the core's rotation began to drastically decelerate.
It started hitting the brakes.
Yes. Right around 2009 to 2010, the core essentially paused. It matched the rotation of the surface, effectively coming to a standstill relative to the mantle.
Just incredible.
And then, in the years following 2010, the seismic waves indicated something impossible. The core began a backward drift.
Subrotation.
Exactly, subrotation, meaning it is now rotating slower than the Earth's surface, effectively moving backwards.
To put it in the exact terms of our bevel gear analogy, around 2009, the Earth's clutch slid into neutral. The core lost its torque, slowed down, paused, and then it engaged the opposing gear and began to reverse relative to the mantle.
It's a perfect match.
A 10,000-year-old text predicted a planetary mechanical failure that we only just possess the technology to measure in 2023.
And the corroboration doesn't even stop with the solid inner core.
There's more.
Oh, absolutely. The source material highlights even more recent findings, looking at data collected over the last decade and projected forward into 2025 and 2026, utilizing incredibly sensitive satellites from the European Space Agency, specifically the SWARM and Cryosat missions.
What are those satellites looking for? They aren't measuring earthquakes from space, right?
No, the ESA satellites measure the Earth's magnetic field with astonishing precision.
Okay, magnetic fields.
The magnetic field is generated not by the solid inner core, but by the liquid outer core, the vast, churning ocean of molten iron and nickel that completely encases the solid center.
Got it.
By tracking minute anomalies in the magnetic field from orbit, scientists can map the flow of this liquid metal deep underground.
And the ESA data revealed that the flow of this liquid outer core, specifically a massive jet stream of molten metal under the Pacific Ocean, suddenly shifted.
Yes, completely reversed.
Historically, this underground river of liquid iron flowed strongly westward. But right around that exact same 2009-2010 window, it abruptly decelerated, changed direction, and started flowing eastward.
So we have two entirely independent sets of data: seismic waves tracking the solid core and satellite magnetics tracking the liquid core. Both experienced a profound simultaneous reversal in their behavior right around the year 2010.
Modern science has definitively proven that the core is shifting. The data is indisputable.
But this leads to a massive scientific dilemma. The researchers who publish these papers, the experts at ESA, they know what is happening. They have the charts, they have the graphs, but they are completely baffled by why it is happening.
It is arguably the most important unanswered question in geophysics right now. Where is the torque coming from? You mentioned earlier that the core is the size of Pluto. To take a solid, dense mass of that scale, spinning at incredible speeds, force it to break, and then push it in the opposite direction. It requires an input of energy that is almost unimaginable.
Exactly.
When I was looking through the sources breakdown of the scientific literature, it points out that current geological hypotheses are mostly looking inward for the answer.
Looking for an internal cause.
Right. Scientists suspect there might be complex electromagnetic coupling happening between the inner and outer core, or perhaps the rocky mantle is exerting some kind of gravitational tug on the core. But the scientists themselves admit these are just mathematical models. They lack a proven physical driving mechanism that can generate that specific kind of massive reversing torque on a predictable cycle.
Modern science is desperately searching for the motor inside the machine. They assume the Earth is a closed system.
But the ancient text provides a totally different, elegant solution. It suggests the energy isn't coming from inside the Earth at all. The Earth is not a closed system. The torque is external.
The shifting cosmic prana flows.
Precisely, the bevel gear. The source argues that the Earth has simply reached a point in its 24,000-year orbit where it is crossing the boundary between the Swarga and Bhuvu domains.
It is physically moving out of the Shivalinga flow and into the Shivalingi flow.
Yes. The external cosmic forces acting on the planet have shifted, applying massive, opposing external torque directly to the planet's axis. Modern science possesses the tools to see the physical effect, the seismic data, but the ancient text provides the cosmic cause.
It is a staggering theoretical overlap. But, as amazing as it is to think about planetary gears, it brings us to a terrifying realization, which the source outlines as our second major puzzle.
Yeah, the consequences.
We've talked about the physics of reversing a massive gear, but what actually happens to the machine itself when a spinning iron core inside a planet suddenly hits the brakes and tries to reverse?
As any engineer will tell you, it's not a gentle process. You can't just throw a massive, heavy machine into reverse at high speeds without catastrophic consequence. The kinetic energy, the momentum, the friction, it has to go somewhere.
And according to the source, that friction doesn't stay neatly contained in the center of the Earth. It bleeds straight up to the surface, resulting in absolute devastation for anything living there.
Let's examine the source's explanation of this mechanism of disaster.
Okay, let's get into it.
According to the cosmology, when the Earth transitions between these massive prana flows, which occurs every 12,000 years, at the extreme apexes of the Divya Yuga cycle, specifically the transition between the height of Satya Yuga and the depth of kaliyuga, the core doesn't just instantly flip like a light switch.
No, it takes time.
As we discussed with the dog clutch, there is a neutral zone. The core slows down. During this deceleration and reversal, it experiences immense viscous deformation. It is fighting against the momentum of the mantle and the crest.
It's grinding the gears.
And that internal grinding generates vast amounts of excess heat. We are talking about friction on a planetary scale. This thermal surge creates excess magma deep within the Earth's interior that has nowhere to go but up.
It tears through the Earth's mantle, seeking the path of least resistance to the surface.
The pressure builds up until it physically ruptures the planetary crust. We're talking about supervolcanoes erupting simultaneously across the globe. We're talking about massive tectonic rifting, where the continental plates are quite literally forced apart by the surging magma, generating global mega-earthquakes that reshape coastlines in an afternoon.
And the immediate atmospheric consequence of thousands of square miles of lava and pulverized rock erupting is catastrophic. The ash and sulfur dioxide form a thick veil in the stratosphere.
Blocking out the sun.
Yes. The Earth is plunged into a sudden dark age, a rapid onset volcanic winter that triggers an instantaneous brutal ice age.
So, the ancient text explicitly predicts that every 12,000 years, this cosmic gear shift causes an apocalyptic climate and geological catastrophe. And this connects perfectly to Puzzle 2, as presented in the source, the Younger Dryas event.
For a long time, the Younger Dryas was the ultimate mystery of paleoclimatology. It is a very specific, fiercely debated, and deeply terrifying period in Earth's relatively recent history.
Let's look at the timeline. The Younger Dryas occurred roughly 12,900 to 11,600 years ago. So the epicenter of that event is almost exactly 12,000 years ago.
Which aligns flawlessly with the 12,000-year half-cycle of the Divya Yuga described in the text.
And what actually happened on the surface of the Earth during the Younger Dryas matches the ancient text description of a core reversal catastrophe with horrifying precision.
It really does.
Prior to 12,900 years ago, the Earth was actually warming up. We were steadily coming out of a long ice age. Glaciers were retreating. Flora and fauna were thriving.
Right, things are looking good.
And then, virtually overnight in geological terms, the entire planet experienced a brutal, violent return to extreme ice age conditions.
The temperature plummeted globally. Glaciers that had been retreating suddenly surged back across the northern hemisphere, crushing everything in their path.
But it wasn't just the sheer cold that made the Younger Dryas so devastating, it was the extreme volatility.
Right, the swing back.
After this sudden, centuries-long deep freeze, the climate snapped back in the other direction with equal violence. The ice core data shows a terrifying 5 to 10 degrees Celsius global temperature spike occurring over an incredibly short period, perhaps just a few decades.
That kind of rapid temperature spike is catastrophic. It causes massive, uncontainable glacial melting. We are talking about continental ice sheets that are miles thick, turning into water almost instantly.
Which leads to global megafloods. The source material explicitly mentions massive flooding, or jalprile, resulting from this cyclical shift. And all that ice melting isn't just a water problem, it's a profound weight problem for the planet's crust.
This is a crucial geological detail the source notes, which aligns perfectly with modern geophysics. Isostatic rebound.
Oh, explain that.
When you have billions of tons of ice sitting on a continental plate, it depresses the crust into the mantle. It literally squishes it down.
Makes sense.
When you rapidly melt that ice, the immense weight is removed, and the landmass literally bounces back up, snapping into a new position.
Wow.
This sudden, violent shifting of tectonic plates causes massive, continuous earthquakes and triggers further widespread volcanic activity. It's an inescapable feedback loop of destruction. The water weight shifts, the crust cracks, the volcanoes erupt, the ice melts faster.
And the source includes a really intriguing detail to show just how chaotic the entire solar system gets during this 12,000-year transition phase.
Yeah.
It isn't just the Earth that is suffering. It references a recent scientific study from the University of Oulu in Finland.
Right, that study analyzed ancient tree rings and deep ice cores, looking for isotopes that indicate cosmic radiation. They found definitive evidence of a supersolar flare that hit the Earth approximately 14,300 years ago.
This timeline falls right into the broader, unstable transition window of this massive cyclic shift.
And when we say flare, we aren't talking about a bright spot on the sun that messes with radio signals for an hour. This specific flare was estimated to be roughly 500 times more powerful than the Carrington event or any modern solar flare we have ever recorded.
500 times.
It paints a picture of a solar system, the sun included, that is under immense, violent electromagnetic stress as the gears of the Yuga cycle grind into their new positions.
The Younger Dryas serves as the geological smoking gun for the 12,000-year disaster cycle. Modern science has mapped the freezing, the rapid heating, the mega flooding, the volcanism.
And the ancient text provides the blueprint for why it happens. The 12,000-year core reversal driven by the shifting cosmic prana.
Okay, so the 12,000-year mark brings violent, rapid destruction from the inside out via the friction of the core. But the source material also details the effects of the full 24,000-year cycle. While the 12,000-year half cycle is explosive and sudden, the full cycle brings a slower, more profound, and permanent reshaping of the Earth's surface and the very elements of nature.
This brings us to the mechanics of the planet's orientation in space. We have to look at axial precession, commonly known as the wobble.
Right. Most people know the Earth is tilted on its axis, which gives us our seasons. But science knows that the Earth doesn't just spin perfectly stably at that tilt. It wobbles on its axis, exactly like a spinning top as it starts to lose momentum.
The angle of the Earth's tilt slowly traces a massive circle in the sky over thousands of years.
This is a well-documented astronomical phenomenon known as the Milankovitch precession cycle. Science has measured this wobble and determined that the Earth completes one full cycle of this precession, one complete rotation of the tilt every 23,000 to 26,000 years.
Which averages out to 24,000 years.
Exactly, the exact length of 2 Divya Yugas, or a complete Divya Yuga chakra. The mathematical timing is a perfect match.
But again, the ancient text doesn't just offer a matching timeline, it offers a cosmic structural mechanism for the wobble.
Like why it's happening.
Exactly. Why does the Earth wobble on a 24,000-year cycle? Modern physics attributes it to the gravitational pull of the sun and moon on the Earth's equatorial bulge. But according to the source, the root cause is the Shivalinga prana.
The upward-flowing male energy that targets the land masses.
Yes. The text states that the heaven, the sun, and the earth are energetically, magnetically locked in alignment by this specific Shivalinga prana flow. As the entire solar system moves through its complex 24,000-year lotus petal orbit, shifting up and down relative to the Sushumna chakra, the Earth is forced to slightly alter its physical tilt just to maintain that energetic connection.
So the wobble isn't just a random gravitational quirk. It is the Earth straining, physically adjusting its posture to stay plugged into the cosmic energy source as it moves through the varying geometry of space.
Precisely. And this leads us to ask, what are the surface consequences of this continuous 24,000-year shifting tilt?
Think about where you live right now.
Mm-hmm.
A slight change in planetary tilt might not sound like a big deal compared to supervolcanoes, but the source points out it changes absolutely everything about the biosphere.
It leads us to puzzle 3 in the document, river avulsion and the mystery of lost rivers. When the Earth's tilt changes over this 24,000-year cycle, it fundamentally alters the angle at which solar radiation hits the planet.
It changes the weather.
Yes, it changes the global atmospheric circulation, it changes the global monsoon belts.
The massive weather systems that bring life-giving rain literally migrate across the globe over millennia. Areas that were dense, tropical rainforests receiving massive amounts of heavy rainfall slowly shift into arid deserts as the monsoon belt moves steadily away due to the changing tilt.
And this explains a major geological and historical mystery, paleochannel.
Paleochannels, yeah.
These are ancient, buried, completely dry riverbeds that are mostly invisible from the ground but are clearly visible from satellite imagery. Geologists have found massive river systems all over the world that just seemingly disappeared.
The text highlights 2 prime examples in India to illustrate this point: the Saraswati River in the north and the Palar River in the south.
Historically and culturally, these were described as massive, roaring waterways that supported vast, thriving civilizations.
And then they simply dried up. Or the geological shifts were so drastic that they altered their course entirely, vanishing from the surface they once defined. Imagine the Mississippi River just slowly turning to dust over a few generations because the Earth slightly tilted its axis.
For a long time, historians and geologists debated why these massive rivers vanished. Was it a localized earthquake that diverted the water? Overuse and damming by early human civilizations?
But the source argues that these river avulsions are hardwired into the 24,000-year cycle. As the precession cycle shifts the Earth's tilt to maintain the prana connection, the global monsoons move and the rivers must follow the rain.
It is a planetary-scale geographic restructuring. The death of these rivers wasn't a localized accident, it was a scheduled event on the cosmic clock.
And the source goes even further than just shifting rivers. It claims that the fundamental balance of the elements on Earth, the ratio of Earth to water, changes across this cycle.
This is a fascinating correlation with deep-time climatology. The text states that during Satyuga, when the solar system is moving slower and is closest to the divine anchor of the Sushumna chakra, the Earth itself behaves differently. The total landmass increases and the global sea levels drop.
Which perfectly describes a glacial period, an ice age. During an ice age, vast amounts of the ocean's water are sucked up and locked into massive continental ice sheets, exposing huge amounts of land that were previously underwater, like the Bering Land Bridge.
Conversely, the text says that during kaliyuga, when the Earth is spinning faster at the furthest, most chaotic edge of the orbit, the landmass shrinks and the sea levels rise.
Which is an interglacial period. The ice melts, the oceans swell, and coastal lands are flooded. This mirrors our exact current concerns today about rising oceans, shrinking coastlines, and melting polar caps.
The source is framing these massive climatic epochs not as random variations in atmospheric carbon, but as the programmed outputs of the cosmic gear system moving through different elemental phases.
The Earth breathes ice and water over 24,000 years.
It is a totally unified theory of planetary behavior. From the deepest iron core to the surface rivers to the global oceans, every aspect of the Earth's geophysics is dictated by the position of the gears in the Divya Yuga chakra.
Okay, let's take a breath and recap the sheer scale of this journey. We started with this immensely complex ancient cosmology. We looked at the Rahat Pranali, the water wheel tracking 24,000-year lotus petal orbits, locking the solar cycles to deep time.
We unpacked the Shivalinga and Shivalingi divine energy flows.
And then we translated that ancient mysticism into the bevel gear reversing mechanism, showing how those cosmic currents could theoretically apply massive external torque to the center of our planet.
We took that ancient framework and laid it directly over the top of the most profound mysteries in modern Earth science.
We saw how a 12,000-year core reversal perfectly explains the cataclysmic violence, the freezing, and the flooding of the Younger Dryas climate disaster. We saw how the 24,000-year Shivalinga energetic lock explains the Milankovitch precession cycles, the migrating monsoons, and the vanishing of massive ancient rivers like the Saraswati.
And most shockingly, we saw how this ancient text anticipates the very recent, very real satellite data from ESA and the seismic data published in Nature Geoscience in 2023.
Data proving that the Earth's inner core genuinely paused its rotation around 2009 and is currently drifting backward.
The scientific establishment possesses the data to see the effect, but the ancient text offers the integrated cause.
It is a breathtaking synthesis. It forces you to look at the ground beneath your feet differently. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I'll leave you with a final thought to really mull over.
A provocative one.
Yes, something that takes everything we've just discussed, the 24,000-year orbits, the supervolcanoes, the melting ice, and applies it directly to the reality you and I are living in right now.
If we accept the premise of this source material, if this 24,000-year cosmic bevel gear system is real, and the Earth is currently transitioning between these massive prana flows,
Right.
and if the hard scientific data is correct, and the Earth's solid iron core genuinely paused its rotation in 2009 to begin a massive reversal, what does that mean for the era we are entering into today?
We're so conditioned to think of geological changes taking millions of years. We think of the Earth as a slow, safe, stable rock. We think disasters are things that happen to dinosaurs.
But if the cosmic clutch has just shifted in the last 15 years, are the extreme weather patterns, the shifting magnetic anomalies, the incredible atmospheric and tectonic volatility we are seeing in the 2020s just normal fluctuations?
Or are they the very first violent grinding teeth of a much larger cosmic gear engaging?
If the gear has shifted into reverse, the pressure inside the mantle is only just beginning to build. The machine is in motion.
The straight line of time is curled into a circle, the core has stopped, and the clock is ticking. Keep diving deep. Keep questioning the connections between our ancient past and our scientific future, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.